Well, hello, Life Groups. Welcome back as we start our new sermon series on people like us. The first people that we look at are really the first people of the Bible, Adam and Eve. God creates Adam and Eve, places them in the Garden of Eden, and seemingly everything in the world up to that point is good. There's no sin, there's no suffering, there's no disease. And we see in Genesis 3 the fall of Adam and Eve. And it's one of, if you really focus closely, it's a fall of really knowledge and what is knowledge and how do we get knowledge. And if you look at Genesis chapter 3, verse 4, you see the serpent said to the woman, "You will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." And so in that lie of Satan's lie there's also mixed in a little bit of truth. Satan he's been doing this for a long time. He's a good liar, and he understands, just like any good liar would understand, that in order for a lie to really be effective and to really be good, you need to sprinkle in some truth in there so that somebody is not able to distinguish where the lie is and where the truth is. And so one task for us to consider is maybe with your groups, look through Genesis chapter 3 and consider in what Satan tells Eve, where is the lie aspect and where is the truth aspect? And then what changed after Adam and Eve had sinned? What changed in Adam and Eve's knowledge? There's a couple things in there that they kind of become realized of some things. So what is it that Adam and Eve, what changed in their thinking, what changed in their knowledge after sin? And then moving on from that, from Adam and Eve, because we know that from there, all people have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, we can skip over to Romans chapter 1 and look at verses 21, 22, 23, and we can see in those verses that people, us, we knew God, but we did not worship and honor Him as God. And so another question there is, how is it that we become futile or darkened in our thinking as people? And then you can skip over to Romans 12, the first couple verses there, where he says, be transformed by the renewal of our mind, and really discuss among yourselves, how do we have that renewed mind? How are we transformed when our minds are renewed? And there's a couple places that you can go from there. 2 Corinthians 10, 4 through 5, Paul says, take every thought captive, that we take every thought captive. So how do we take every thought captive? And 2 Corinthians 5, 7 as well, where he says, we live by faith, not by sight. And so a good question there for you to discuss, maybe, how is faith different than knowledge? And where is faith, what aspects of life is faith needed, and what aspects of life do we really have knowledge and we can just go with knowledge? And then finally, if you've still got some time, Matthew chapter 7 verses 21 through 23, Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount says, there's going to come a day when people will say to me, Lord, Lord, and I will say to them, Jesus says, depart from me, I never knew you. And so maybe discuss, how can we know about God? What does it mean to know about God versus what does it mean to actually know God? And how does one transition from knowing about God to actually knowing God, having that relationship with Him, knowing who Christ is? Have a great discussion among yourselves. Again, what feeds our minds? What feeds our knowledge, and how do we transform that for the glory of God, so that with our knowledge, our faith is strengthened and our lives are strengthened as a result? Blessings to you.